You're the father. Don't even question it. Those were the words my wife spat at me with absolute certainty, like a judge slamming down a gavel. She didn't even blink, didn't hesitate. She said it like it was fact carved in stone. For a moment, I just stood there, frozen. My mind went blank, but my heart sank straight to the floor. Pregnant. My wife. With my child. At least that's what she was claiming. But the instant those words left her mouth, another memory hit me like a freight train. The so-called girls' night out just a few weeks earlier. The one where she disappeared until morning, reeking of perfume and alcohol, her phone buzzing non-stop with notifications she never let me see. She locked eyes with me, daring me to argue, to doubt her, to call her a liar. And the crazy thing is, anyone else might have believed her. The innocent smile she put on, the fake tremble in her voice, but I wasn't anyone else. I knew better. I already had my suspicions. I already had enough pieces of the puzzle to see the ugly picture she was trying to hide. She thought she could corner me with her words, force me into fatherhood, into silence, into submission. But deep down, a fire was already burning, a fire for the truth. But when I discovered what really happened that night, I knew my life was about to explode. When I first met her, she was the kind of woman who could light up an entire room just by walking into it. Everyone noticed her, everyone wanted her attention, and somehow, she chose me. I was the quiet one, the stable one, the guy who didn't need the spotlight. She once told me she loved that about me, that I made her feel grounded, safe, like she could lean on me when the world got too loud. And I believed her. From the very beginning, I put her first. I picked up extra shifts just to make sure rent was always paid, that she could chase her dreams without worrying about bills. When her car broke down, I drained my savings to get her back on the road. When she wanted to take classes to better herself, I worked double hours so she wouldn't have to. I wasn't resentful, I was proud. I thought that's what love was supposed to look like, but little cracks started showing. At dinners with friends, she'd roll her eyes if I told a story too slowly. Sometimes she'd joke about me being too boring or too serious in front of people. I'd laugh it off even when it stung. She'd cancel plans with me at the last minute because the girls needed her. And when I tried to talk about how it made me feel, she'd brush it off with, "You're overthinking. Don't be so sensitive." Red flags, right? But back then, I told myself that's just how she was. Playful, independent, a little blunt. I thought her charm outweighed the flaws. I thought my loyalty would eventually win her respect. I didn't know then that every sacrifice I made was just feeding her sense of entitlement. And those late-night girls' trips I kept excusing? I thought her late-night girls' trips were innocent, but I was about to find out the shocking truth. It started with little things, the kind you almost convince yourself aren't worth noticing. Her phone, for example. She used to leave it lying around without a second thought, but suddenly it was glued to her hand. The screen always tilted away from me, the notifications silent. If I walked into the room, she'd lock it instantly, her thumb moving faster than my eyes could follow. When I asked why, she laughed and said, "Privacy, babe. Everyone deserves it. Don't be controlling." I wanted to trust her. I chose to trust her. But that trust was tested again and again. The worst was at a party one night. She was drinking, loud, draping herself over every guy in the room like she was single again. At one point, she actually introduced me to someone as my boring husband. Everyone laughed. Everyone except me. My chest burned, but I swallowed it. Later, when I told her how humiliated I felt, she rolled her eyes. "You're so insecure. Stop making everything about you." Insecure. That word became her weapon of choice. Anytime I questioned her late nights, her girls' weekends, or the way she suddenly guarded her phone like it was made of gold, she flipped the script. "Why are you spying? Don't you trust me? Maybe you're the one with something to hide." But one night, when she fell asleep with her phone half hanging off the bed, I saw the truth. Messages, dozens of them. Plans for a hotel. Not with one man, not with two, but a group of them. My hands shook as I scrolled, my heart pounding louder with each detail spelled out in black and white. Couldn't believe it. The woman I sacrificed for, the woman I defended, was sneaking off to meet multiple men behind my back. And yet, I didn't confront her. Not yet. I kept silent, gathering every shred of evidence I could. Screenshots, photos, timelines, because deep down, I knew if I went at her empty-handed, she'd twist it back on me like she always did. Then came the bombshell. She stood in front of me, hands on her stomach, and announced she was pregnant. Her eyes locked on mine, cold and demanding. "You're the father. Don't even question it." She wanted blind trust, total submission, absolute obedience. But my silence wasn't weakness. It was preparation, because I had the messages, the photos, and the proof, and I wasn't going to stay silent any longer. I knew if I confronted her alone, she'd twist every word, cry crocodile tears, and somehow make me the villain. That was her gift, spinning lies so convincingly people forgot what the truth even was. So I waited. I waited for the right stage, the right audience, the moment when her mask couldn't save her. That moment came at a family gathering, one of those dinners where her parents, siblings, and closest friends were all under one roof. She loved these nights because it was her chance to shine, to play the role of the perfect wife with the perfect marriage. And that's exactly what made it the perfect battleground. Dinner was halfway through when she clinked her glass and announced, "We're expecting." Cheers erupted around the table, people rushing to congratulate us, hugging her, patting me on the back. I forced a smile, but inside, I was burning. I let the applause die down, let her bask in the spotlight she adored. Then, when all eyes were on us, I stood up. "Actually," I said calmly, "there's something everyone should see." Her smile froze. I pulled out my phone, projecting the screenshots onto the TV. The room went silent. First came the texts, her arranging the hotel meetup, the flirtatious messages with not one, but 4 different men. Then came the photos, grainy, but damning. Her outside the hotel at 2 in the morning. Her slipping into the lobby with one of them. The silence turned into gasps, whispers, the kind of noise that cuts deeper than any shout. She shot up from her seat, face red, voice trembling. "This is fake. He's lying. He's trying to ruin me." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. "These were taken on the nights you told me you were at your friend's house. Same dates, same times. Do you want me to keep going?" She crumbled into hysterics, switching tactics in a heartbeat. Fake tears streaming, she cried out, "You don't understand. I was drunk. I was confused. I didn't know what I was doing." Her mother's face paled. Her father sat stone still. Her friends avoided her eyes, and I stayed calm. I looked at her, then at everyone else and said, "She told me I was the father. But look at the timeline. You all can do the math. The dates don't add up. She was with them when she claims she conceived with me." The room erupted again, but this time the whispers weren't about me. They were about her. She tried one last time, pointing at me with venom. "He's making this up because he's insecure. He can't stand that other men find me attractive." But her voice cracked, her body shook, and no one believed her anymore. The evidence was too clear, too undeniable. I gathered my phone, slipped it back into my pocket, and stood tall. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I simply said, "You wanted to humiliate me with your lies. Now everyone sees the truth." And with that, I walked out. No grand exit, no theatrics, just silence and the sound of chairs creaking as people turned to watch her break apart. She thought humiliating me would break me, but she had no idea what I was about to do next. After that night, nothing was the same. Word spread fast, not because I said anything, but because her own family couldn't stay quiet. Her parents were humiliated, her siblings disgusted, and her so-called friends wanted nothing to do with her once the truth was out in the open. One by one, the people who used to praise her perfect marriage started cutting ties. She became a ghost in her own social circle, whispered about at gatherings, mocked behind her back for trying to trap me with a pregnancy that clearly wasn't mine. I can't lie. Watching her world crumble felt like justice. For once, the mask she wore so perfectly had slipped, and everyone finally saw the monster I'd been living with. I filed for divorce the very next week. I made sure the paperwork left her with nothing. No claim to my savings. No piece of the house I had worked my hands raw to pay for. Every receipt, every document, every proof of betrayal was lined up neatly for the court. She tried to play the victim, sobbing about abandonment, but the evidence was undeniable. The judge saw right through her. Sometimes, late at night, I'd imagine how Reddit would have reacted if I'd posted the story there. I could practically hear the comments. "This woman is beyond toxic. You dodged a bullet. She wanted to ruin your life, and you caught her just in time." And honestly, they would have been right. The best part wasn't just that she lost the case. It was that she lost her reputation. Every lie she spun, every manipulative game she played, it all collapsed in the open. People who once envied her now pitted her, and not in a way that brought her sympathy. For the first time in years, I felt free. I wasn't the insecure husband she painted me to be. I was the man who stood up, exposed the truth, and walked away. But the sweetest revenge wasn't legal or financial. It was the life I built after leaving her behind. Walking away wasn't easy. The silence of an empty house hit me like a storm at first. But instead of letting it drown me, I used it as space to rebuild. I started small, long walks in the morning, hitting the gym after work, cooking my own meals instead of eating whatever was easiest. I even picked up therapy, something I once thought I'd never need, and piece by piece, the weight she'd buried me under started to lift. I threw myself into my career, into projects I had shelved for years because I was too busy pouring everything into her. The more I focused on myself, the more I realized how much I had given up in the name of love. But the truth was, what I had with her wasn't love at all. Love without respect isn't love, it's control. She had controlled the narrative for so long that I forgot my own worth. But betrayal has a strange way of waking you up. I began reconnecting with family and old friends who reminded me who I used to be before I lost myself in her chaos. Their support, their encouragement, their simple presence gave me the strength to stop blaming myself. And I learned something vital: loyalty should always be mutual. Red flags are not quirks to laugh off, they are warnings. Ignoring them doesn't make you noble, it makes you vulnerable. Now, when I look in the mirror, I see a man who survived the fire and came out stronger. Maybe one day I'll open my heart again, but this time it'll be on my terms. With boundaries, with respect, with the self-worth I nearly let her erase. She tried to destroy me with lies and betrayal, but instead, she set me free.